Hello everyone, my name is Gustav Lundgård. I work for IKEA and I'm here to talk about our Cyber Jedi Academy. I live in Sweden. I've been working with a few different positions in security, but 3 years ago I joined IKEA to start working with software security a bit more in this context. For 2 years I've been leading the software security program at IKEA, and I'm here to talk about what are the learnings we've had in our security community that the Cyber Jedi Academy is, and what I think that we all must, how we must think and work with security in specifically DevOps today. So let's jump in some slides and let's get cracking, shall we? Okay, software security, rise of the Cyber Jedis, a security community of practice. And some nice IKEA products as well. So some IKEA advertisements in this, of course. That's me. I work within cybersecurity at Ikeas. Ikeas is a part of IKEA. This means that we sell furniture, but we do not produce furniture. That is a different part of IKEA. So our security that we do is mainly focused on all our warehouses, all our co-workers. We are 170,000 employees, whereas approximately 5,000-6,000 people work with our digital solutions. So we're quite a fairly big digital department as well. I run software security. That is 1 out of 5 legs within cybersecurity. And the talk here, I give it, but I have a whole team within software security. So everyone back home, big thanks to you as well. This is not and has never been a one-man show. So the biggest revolution since IKEA was founded. And this is not the pandemic we're in. This is actually about the mobile phones. Already in 2017, 4 years ago, it was estimated that 5 billion people had mobile phones. And this has massively changed the way that we interact and how our customers shop, not only at IKEA, but at all retailers across the globe. And it's been like our data shows us very clearly that in China, the phones are super important for what they're going to buy, even when it comes to furniture. Whereas in Germany, many of you guys, I think, the stores are still the most important thing. And I hope that you are an IKEA customer. And if you've been so, maybe you've seen that the store experience is usually better than the online one. But we're changing that, and I think that we've come quite a far way. And I'm going to talk about how we've tried to work through the security in this context. So 3 years ago, we set out with a new IKEA retail direction, that we are creating a new IKEA in 3 years, bringing digital to the core of everything we do. So we changed almost everything when it comes to digital. And this transformation, we focus on DevOps. And I think that many people know what DevOps is, but just to clarify, when we say DevOps, we mean the culture. And not that we run a lot of pipelines. Of course, we run a lot of CI/CD pipelines, but the context that our digital platform teams and digital product teams are working is mainly DevOps. And this means one thing, that you build it, you run it, you operate it, and yes, you guessed it, you must secure it. So where would we go? And because this massively changed, we've been working with security at IKEA for a long time, and we'd have a 24/7 SOC monitoring for over 10 years. We have a strong perimeter, but what does DevOps and us in this, we're also going to the cloud quite aggressively. Well, we looked at how do we measure DevOps, and what do our engineering community speak about? So our engineering managers as well, they started and are still measuring the teams on many of the performance metrics which comes from accelerate state of DevOps. And if you work within security and you work with specifically software security like I do, I recommend you reading this. And maybe like if you don't have time, you don't have to read the book. Read the survey State of DevOps. Read the book as well. But State of DevOps is an awesome survey of DevOps transformations across companies. And we stole this quote here. Information security should be integrated into the entire software delivery lifecycle. Yeah, that makes sense. What we see is a shift to giving the developers the means to build security in. And This means, okay, we really want to build security in from the start. And these are the metrics that they look at. And so it's different from the ones that we have in security, but we see one there, availability. And many people within security works within CIA. And if we can do these things right, I'm sure that we can do security right as well. And in this, I just wanted to highlight one specific thing from the state of DevOps as well. They said the best strategies for scaling DevOps in organization focus on structural solutions that build community. And this picture here that I stole from Dora on State of DevOps, it shows a clear thing, like the communities of practice line. In the elite performing teams, you have communities of practice. And traditional things such as a center of excellence is not as common. So we thought very much about this when we started building out this community. But first, how are we going to do cybersecurity with DevOps? Well, for us, if you are a team that you build it and you run it and you operate it, you architecture the solution, you are also the most and the only well-equipped team to solve security issues within your team. And as such, the security work should be centered on that team. And that the security engineers that we have, and that I also am, we must focus on empowering the product teams and make them better in how they deal with security. And together with the Cyber Jedi, that I'll go into in just a minute, that's how we try to drive security. So we started our Security Champions program a little bit over a year ago, and this slide is almost 2 years old. When we set out that we wanted to start to do this, and that was to build a Security Champions program. And I think we've all heard about the Security Champions, but we wanted to make security scalable. We wanted to increase transparency of offering. We wanted to raise awareness and empower developers to address security. Well, Security Champions program, but the talk is about Cyber Jedis. Well, we had the opportunity, of course, to pick any topic we'd like. And we had a long discussion whether or not to go with Star Trek or Star Wars. Easy choice if you ask me. So we went with Star Wars. Help me, Cyber Jedi. You are my only hope. Quote Leia. I think that this just tells us really well how we can, the only way for us to scale up security in the organization. We need the Cyber Jedis to help us in this. And the Cyber Jedis are critical to our success within cybersecurity. And to make it a bit more fun and make the Star Wars theme more obvious, we also wrote some of these things, Rise of the Digital Product Breach. I think you recognize that. But yeah, let's go into what did we do and where did we start? Well, in March 2020, we had a pilot program with 7 engineers. And we had a few modules like the SSDLC, Secure Software Development Lifecycle, Secure Coding, and Web Security. And then we changed feedback on the program. And this is super important. And I'll get back to why changing on feedback is so important. But these modules became too big. So we had to change. So in September 2020, we made a bigger rollout where we also launched our self-led learning. And the self-led learning utilizes our IKEA e-learning platform. And this is something that we do in collaboration with Learning and Development at IKEA. And Learning and Development is an organization that is tasked with upskilling all of our people in the company. And then they work with the Pluralsight and Coursera and these type of learning platforms. And that's also how we've actually bundled up together with them to run some of our Secure Code Warrior platforms as well. On the left-hand side of the screen, you see a picture of our online learning, and you see the curriculum on the first level, the way of the Cyber Jedi. And this is an introduction video, there's reflection forums, and more things in the online platform can be such as links to documents or articles we want them to read, videos, I said, it can be surveys, it can be assignments, and these are on the online learning platform to enable the Cyber Jedi to do it at their own pace. And this is really important because some weeks you maybe have releases, some weeks you have focus in your product teams, but with the online learning, they can do it when they have their own time. And the assignments we give them is to do things in the context of their own team. And this is really important. Together with the self-led learning, we had 4 different levels. And the first level, the saga begins, you learn some basics. You learn what is the SSDLC, what is privacy data, and some basics. This takes usually 1 month. And at the Padawan level, 3 to 4 months, you apply learnings within your teams. And this can be one of the Padawan levels or assignments we have is SAS scanning, like code scanning, and to apply that in your team. In the night level, which is a more advanced level, you optimize and lead your teams through various security activities. So at the Padawan level, we ask them, for example, to start selecting SaaS, and they can pick either the things that we offer centrally or open source as well. Just the important thing is that they scan and improve on findings from the different types of scanning that we do. And at the night level, we haven't optimized this, starting integrating in their flows of the teams, in the processes of the teams. And at the later stage of the night level, we also have the Cyber Jedi do threat modeling. And this is really awesome, because if we have software engineers within their own teams doing threat modeling, like that gives so much benefits to the teams, because the whole teams understands the application better when they threat model together. And we can have a separate talk on how we do threat modeling. That's for another another time, but we believe that empowering the product teams to do threat modeling themselves. And at the master level, we only have a few there. We want them to lead and inspire other teams. And they take part in POCs. They help us with a lot of feedbacks to really improve how we do cybersecurity in the company today. The open sessions. Every week we have an hour, which is an open session. And here all Cyber Jedis are invited just to come, ask questions, get help, or hang out and work on Cyber Jedi stuff. Some of the Jedis uses this hour, this meeting, maybe not to be active in the meeting, but to have blocked time to work on their assignments. And we also have occasional topics, and we nowadays we almost always have a topic, which can be something that's relevant or something that we want them to think extra hard on or work with, such as third-party dependencies and the update hygiene when it comes to third-party dependencies. And such a thing was when dependency confusion arose, which was a vulnerability or a vulnerability in package managers, where through security researchers hacked a lot of big organizations such as Apple and Shopify and Microsoft. We talked about this on our Cyber Jedi Academy and what we need to do to protect us from this. So having this every week enable us to discuss topics that's happening right now and that is relevant for them to keep track on. So that's what we did. We have the online learning, we have the open sessions, we have the different level, but like, what has this amounted to? We've been running this for a year now, and yeah, what have we learned? Well, at the start, we were the learners of how to adopt the SSDLC, and that may sound naive, but truth is that I think that many SSDLCs across the world looks fairly similar. Like in SSDLC, you have code scanning, dependency analysis, pen testing, you have hardening. Some have DAST, some don't have DAST, some have IAST. But it was quite theoretical. We didn't support our Jedis and our developers in easily understanding what the SSDLC is about. So with feedback from the developers, we could change the SSDLC and the communication around the SSDLC quite a lot. We also learned that initially getting time commitment was hard from product owners and engineering managers. They did not want to give out time without realizing what this was. We also, like at the first part, we also understood that the feedback from the Jedis were super important, not only to how we needed to do the SSDLC, but feedback in general when it comes to security, when it comes to compliance, IT controls. They say things we don't want to, but that we need to hear, and that's really good. And also a really important learning is that you must spend the Cyber Jedi's time wisely. All activities that you do, they must make sense and make the product better. And I'll elaborate on that in just a minute. Because what went really well and not only what we learned, is that we created a helpful community. And this is something that I'm really proud of. And looking back at the state of DevOps, where I talked about the high and elite performing DevOps teams, they have communities of practice for things. And this community that we've created here is really helpful. So the community consists of mainly a big Slack thread or a Slack channel, Confluence page, our meetings. And in the Slack channels, we have Cyber Jedis asking questions such as, I have this finding where I have this type of data, or I have this problem with authenticating, or whatever. We have other Cyber Jedis helping them, and not specifically perhaps a security engineer. And this is really good, because if we have product teams and engineers helping other engineers with challenges they've had, they have a solution that works in not only in theory but in practice, and that's really good. The learning goes both ways, and this is something that's good as well in the community, because we learn as much from the Jedis as they learn from us within security, and that's really good, because now we have our assurance teams and our CloudSec teams and our pen testers. They also engage with the Cyber Jedis, and that's really good. And the third point here is good, that supporting the Jedis has gone well, because now we have all these different security teams helping the Jedis, and that makes them feel special, and that makes them engaged, because with a high engagement and that they feel special, they also feel like they are a part of why we're doing this, and they can be a part of how we're going to do security tomorrow at IKEA. And this also brings me to believing in the mission, the why. And I haven't talked so much about IKEA because I think this community and all of these things is important, but the why we're doing this is really important. And this is something that we come across on. IKEA has a vision that we want to create a better everyday life for the many people. We want to show that it is good business to do good business. And for us to reach these goals that a lot of people in the company really believes in, we must have secure software. We must have high quality software. And we cannot reach this unless we build security and privacy from the start. So this message has come across, and people believe in what they're doing. And the last point, the teams with a Cyber Jedi is more successful in their security activities. And that leads me to the drawbacks. Because there are, I know it may sound like gold and green forests, as we say in Sweden, but there are some drawbacks. We feel that the Cyber Jedis, or the teams that have Cyber Jedis, are successful in their security activities. But connecting to the big transformation that we've done as a company, we have no good baseline of our product teams to measure from. So we don't really know the impact that they're actually having. So that makes it hard to measure the positive impact. But we know that there is an impact, because we see a lot of, and not us, but engineering managers asking for us to train more Jedis. A drawback with this as well, now that the academy has picked up pace and we see a lot of benefits from that, there's a lot of expectations on the Jedi. That as soon as someone, okay, here's the Jedi in the team, security engineers and all of people, they look to the Jedi for the answers, and this is a bit dangerous. It also comes with a high cost of running this, of course, but not. It is a low cost connect if you ask me in terms of what we get out of it, but it is time consuming. We need to create learning materials, you need to create documents, you need to spend time with them, you need to make them feel special, and that takes time and energy. And the last one here is that there are a possibility as well that we're having software engineers working in potential activities that does not reduce risk. And this is something that's really critical for them, because they need to provide value, otherwise it's a waste of time. This is something that we've thought a lot about. So what should you do, and why am I so passionate about this? And well, some tips for your own Cyber Jedi Academy is that first, do a minimal viable product program to test this out. And you don't have to be a big organization for this. Do an MVP program in the context of your company or of your community or wherever you are. Because I generally believe that the context that we are doing security, that's all what it is about. Because if it wasn't about the context, we could all just go to OWASP and use their checklist and use all of the things that's written there, because I mean, hands down, they're amazing, right? But do an MVP program and make sure that you improve on feedback. Don't have too much pride, because I think that it's impossible for a central security team to sit in an ivory tower and say, this is how things must work, this is how you must do security. I think that improving on feedback and having them see that they can actually impact how security is functioning at this company, they're much more likely to engage with you. And make sure that you spend the developers' time wisely, because if they feel that they are learning something that is useful, that is really good, and that they're having assignments that improves security or the knowledge or the process of their teams, all the teams and all the product owners, the engineering managers are going to say, hey, this is awesome. We are a better team now than before we had a Cyber Jedis. And if you spend that time wisely, that's awesome. And the last point, learning by doing. That's one of the key things, and that's connected, right? That if you do a thing that helps your product or teaches you something, and you do it and learn by doing, that is the best way to learn anything, if you ask me. And what is our Cyber Jedi Academy, and what are our plans for the future? Well, first, we're gonna make more paths than for other roles than software engineers and DevOps engineers, because even though we produce a lot of software, we also buy a lot of software, we integrate a lot of software. So we need to have paths for platforms engineers, system engineers, and we're even being asked to do paths for roles such as product owners and Scrum Masters to enable them to do security better. We also need to do or higher our frequency of onboarding. And this is something that we're working on right now, to have anyone to be able to join at any time. And they are able to do so for now, but what we've seen is that if we run it as cohorts, meaning that we start with a set of people with a set pace, semi-set pace and a schedule, they're more likely to engage and do the things that they have to do. We also need to make the different levels clearer, and that is mainly due to two things. One is that the Cyber Jedis themselves can distinguish themselves that they are on a different level, and that the security engineers and the people around the business, they understand, okay, that this Jedi is on the Padawan or the Knight level, when then they should know X, Y, Z. But if we have the levels clearer, that also solves the next to last point here, that if we have a clear communication to managers on the commitment and personal development for the different levels, that helps the Cyber Jedis to get time and commitment to spend on this. Because if you're supposed to get to the Jedi Master level and earn that degree, you need to spend time and effort. And that should be reflected on things such as personal development goals within the managers. And this is something that we haven't figured out as good as we should, but we're trying to. And of course, the goal, like the end goal of all of this, is that we hope that we can have one Jedi in each team, because then we've successfully integrated security from the inside of the product team. And that is the best way, connecting back to the statement of the team-centric security. If we have security trained people in each product team, then we've come a super, super long way. And that's something that I really, really believe in. Because if they work with security within their team, they work with, they work with building up a security knowledge capital within their teams, and a security knowledge about their product, where they can, how do things really work? And I think that if you ask developers and think about, do they know every piece of their application? And in smaller apps, yes, but in big enterprises, they generally don't. And having Cyber Jedis work with security from within their product teams, that is really, really good. And one of the benefits of that as well is that enables the security engineers to focus on some of the more complex things. Widespreading problem that could be, cross-domain or cross-team functional issues or security issues that they need to focus on. Yeah, I can go on for hours about this. Reach out if you have questions. I'm here to discuss more on the event, and I think this is a really cool thing that's doing really well for us. I'd like to thank you for listening, and I'd really like to make a big shout out to my team back home at IKEA with Jennifer, Björn, Firas, Wajiri, Emil, Jonas. You're all doing an awesome job to making this happen. And yeah, thanks for stopping by.